have a crap ton of books to haul today. I've been kind of on a low buy where, you know, I'm not totally buying no books, but this year I'm trying to only buy 3 books a month. Or less, depending on how my reading goes in the previous month. But I haven't done a book haul in quite a while, and I got a bunch of books from Christmas and Boxing Day because Book Outlet had a great Boxing Day sale. So, plus I do have the 3 books I bought for myself in February. I also took part in Bookish Cupid, so I have a couple books from that, as well as some books I bought because they were my favorites of the year last year and I wanted physical copies. So, all in all, I have a shit ton of books. Let's just get into it. The first book is The Blinds by Adam Sternberg. This was on my top 10 books of last year. This is about a community that was built for people who've been involved in a crime somehow. They've had their memories wiped, so they don't know if they were the one who perpetrated the crime or if they were just a witness to the crime or what. They've never had any problems in this town, but all of a sudden somebody dies and the sheriff has to investigate. He's the only one who has his memory intact, and things kind of go off from there. I really enjoyed this book. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did, so it was a total surprise, but I'm glad to have a physical copy so that I can read it again sometime soon. Next book is Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. This is another book that was in my top 10 books of last year. This is a YA mystery set at a boarding school. There's 2 different timelines, one in the past and one in the present. I'm not going to go super in depth because I feel like a lot of people have talked about this series already. I really love the first book in this series. The second book I didn't love nearly as much, but I do own a physical copy of it already, so I'm probably just going to buy the entire series since there's only 3 books. I haven't read the third one yet. Hopefully it is as strong as this first book though. Another book from my top 10 this year, Willing Victim by Kara McKenna. This was a total surprise to me. Once again, I just picked this up on a whim. This is a smutty novella, very short. This is about Flynn and Laurel, who have kind of a meet cute, and he invites her to watch him in a boxing match, and they end up hooking up. That's pretty much it, but honestly the dynamic between them is just so realistic and adorable and sweet. I just totally love this. I think more people need to read it, even though I've heard it's actually a cult favorite because it's not exactly new, but I don't care. More people need to read this. Love it. Next book I bought is Let's Go Swimming on Doomsday by Natalie C. Anderson. Jessie over at Bowties and Books has raved about this book for quite a while, and so I've been really wanting to try it because I trust Jessie's recommendations so much. I'm not totally 100% sure what this book is about, but I know it has to do with a family and a terrorist organization and the CIA making someone in this family infiltrate that terrorist organization in some way. So very dangerous all around. I'm very intrigued and I can't wait to read this. Next thing I have is A Case for Jamie by Brittany Cavallaro. I read the first book in this series, A Study in Charlotte, last year, and it was actually on my most disappointing books of the year list. Didn't love it as much as I thought I would, but I do own the second book already, so when I saw this on Book Outlet, I was like, alright, fine, I'm buying it. I am going to read the series because it's only 4 books long. Hopefully they will get better as they go. This is a kind of retelling of Sherlock and Watson in a boarding school. The next book I have is 4-Letter Word by Krista Desser. I believe actually I saw Kayla at Books and Lala talk about this book once, and then I saw it on sale and picked it up. The tagline says, 8 friends, 1 game, a dozen regrets. I love the idea of like a YA book with some sort of game aspect, so that was the main reason I picked this up, not gonna lie. Hopefully I'll enjoy it. I don't read as many YA books as I used to, but for some reason I keep buying them anyway. The next book I have is Trail of Lightning by Rebecca Roanhorse. I've seen a lot about this book here on BookTube, and it ended up convincing me to pick it up. This has to do with a world that's been taken over by climate change and drowned, basically. And there are only so many people left, and there are monsters walking the earth now, and I believe it has something to do with indigenous folklore. I don't know a ton. This is all I know about it, but I'm very intrigued and I can't wait to try it out. The one thing I will say about this book though is I saw afterwards a little bit of controversy on Twitter after I'd already purchased it about how even though the author is indigenous, she's not part of the tribe that she is talking about in this book. So that could be problematic. I don't really know. So that's just something to know if you happen to want to buy this book. It's something to be informed of. The next book I picked up was Darkness by Karen Roberts. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I mostly bought this for the cover because it's so pretty, and it's a thriller. This is a thriller that takes place in Alaska where there's this research crew and all of a sudden a jet drops out of the sky, and like all of a sudden I'm really excited for this. A Map for Wrecked Girls by Jessica Taylor. I'm pretty sure I got this for $1. This has to do with two sisters who have to survive some sort of wilderness thing together, and they have, you know, some sort of like complicated relationship. This will be probably one that it takes me a while to get to, but it was $1 and I wanted free shipping. The next book I have here is Middle Game by Seanan McGuire. I don't know totally how to explain this book. I know it has something to do with the scientist who is kind of like the father to these two children who he's raising to be gods or something like that. It honestly reminds me a lot of The God Project by John Saul. That I read that in high school and really enjoyed it, so I'm looking forward to picking this up. I enjoy Seanan McGuire's novella series. The one I can't remember the name of right now, The Wayward Children one, that one. I enjoyed that. I didn't enjoy the Killer Mermaid book, but hopefully I'll enjoy this one more. I have high hopes. The next book I picked up is After the Woods by Kim Savage. This is about a girl who was kidnapped and somehow got away from her kidnapper in the woods while he like stalked her in the woods. And a year later, another girl is found in the woods, etc. Really, the cover drew me in. I actually have another book in this haul that I was drawn in by the cover, who's by the same author, so that's interesting. It was cheap. It's a thriller. I like a good kidnapping story, so hopefully I will enjoy this. Next book is Girls on the Verge by Sharon Biggs Waller. I believe that this is a book about a couple of girls who go on a road trip so that one of the girls can get an abortion because they can't get an abortion in their own state. I've heard it hits hard and it's very upsetting. This is obviously a subject that is very important and very timely, and I love a good feminist tale. The last book in this box is House of Furies by Madeline Rowe. So honestly, I'm not totally sure what this book is about. It just seems to be some sort of haunted house story. I don't have a lot of books like that, so I picked this one up. One of the books I picked up last month was Fingersmith by Sarah Waters. This takes place in London in 1862 and has to do with some thieves and con men and some sort of seduction to get this lady's money. I don't totally know. It sounds kind of complicated, but very interesting. The next book I picked up last month was No Exit by Taylor Adams. I've already read this. It was 5 stars. I absolutely loved it, and I wanted a copy for myself because I know I'm going to read it again. This is a thriller that takes place in a gas station of sorts on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere in a snowstorm. There are 4 strangers stuck there together, and one of them has a child locked in their car. The main character is trying to figure out who the kidnapper is and how she can get this kid away from them and out of danger, while still keeping herself out of danger as well. This was such a fast-paced, fun ride. I absolutely love the dynamic between the bad person and the main character. I rooted for the main character all the way. It was just really well done, and I want to read more from this author. The next thing I picked up is Things You Save in a Fire by Catherine Center. This came into my life at a perfect time. This is another book. This is the 3rd book I picked up last month. I read a story on an app a couple months ago between a female firefighter and like the rest of her fire squad and her falling in love, and I just like totally fell in love with it, and I just wanted more. And so I ended up finding this book, and I was just like, yes, this is exactly what I've been looking for. I really wanted a book that has to do with a female firefighter having to kind of prove herself and fight against misogyny in the fire squad or whatever, as well as falling in love, which honestly I don't care about that part so much, but I'm hoping this fits the bill. The next thing I have is Fables Volume 1. I absolutely love this comic series. I'm up to volume 14, I think, or 13. There's 20 volumes in total, so I'm over halfway done, and I'm going to be so sad when it's over. This is kind of like a once upon a time sort of thing, where all of these fairy tale characters that you know and love were kicked out of their homelands by some sort of adversary, and now they're in the mundane world just trying to get by and trying to get back to their homeland at some point. And there's just like a lot, and I just love it so much. So when I saw the first volume on Book Outlet, I was like, I need that. I don't know if I'll buy any more of the series, but I'm glad to at least have this first volume to look back at fondly. So the next thing I bought was Thug Kitchen 101, but I should have done more research before I bought it because I did not realize that this was plant-based food. And I don't really eat vegetables, which I know sounds super weird. Everyone's gonna judge me for it, but I just don't. I eat potatoes, I eat corn, and that's pretty much it in terms of vegetables. I eat a lot of carbs. Like, most of my diet consists of pasta and bread and pizza. But yeah, this is not gonna go to use, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this. The next book I picked up is The Foxhole Court by Nora Sakavic. I read this last year, or maybe at the beginning of this year. I'm not sure, but I absolutely loved the entire series. Like, I very rarely finish series, especially in a very short amount of time, but I read all 3 of these books within 2 months and just, I died. It was so cute. I love it so much. It went completely in different directions than I thought it would, but it was amazing. This has to do with kind of a bunch of wayward kids who end up on this team together for this sport called Exy, and I honestly don't know what else to say about it than that. They all have different drama and different like tortured backgrounds. The camaraderie is really what gets me in this, the found family aspect. It was so fun. And I'm definitely going to pick up the other 2 books and read them again, hopefully soon. For Bookish Cupid, I got 3 books from my Bookish Cupid, which is just so nice and generous and lovely, and I'd never taken part in this before, and it was just such a fun experience. So I just want to say a huge thank you to Zoe. Thank you so much. I'm so excited for this. So for these next 3 books from my Bookish Cupid, I'm going to read the synopsis on the back because obviously I don't know a lot about these books, but I'm very, very excited. This first book is called A Promise of Fire by Amanda Bouchette. Kat Faiza lives disguised as a soothsayer in a traveling circus. Ooh, love that. She's perfectly content avoiding the danger and destiny the gods and her homicidal mother have saddled her with. That is, until Griffin, an ambitious warlord from the magic-deprived south, fixes her with his steely gaze and upsets her illusion of safety forever. Griffin knows Kat is the Kingmaker, the woman who divines the truth through lies. He wants her as a powerful weapon for his newly conquered realm, until he realizes he wants her for much more than her magic. Kat fights him at every turn, but Griffin's fairness, loyalty, and smoldering advances make him hard to resist and leave her wondering if life really does have to be short and lived alone. This is the book that my Bookish Cupid bought because she absolutely loves it, so that's exciting. I don't have a lot of experience with romantic fantasy, but I feel like if there was a way to get me into fantasy, this would be it. Now, the next book she said she picked for me because it's a good dark romance, which, you know I love a dark romance. And I haven't heard of this one, and that makes me even more excited. So this one's called The Sordid Promise, a breaking insanity novel by Courtney Lane. Diana Nikki Gibbons returns to her hometown 6 months ago to tend to her sick mother. She thought she'd let her baggage behind her on the opposite coast, only to find that it never left her side. As her self-destructive thoughts begin to consume her, her mother, realizing Nikki's torment, pushes Nikki to complete her last wishes. Eric Britton, Nikki's new neighbor, lives in a dark, chaotic world that is easily hidden behind his model good looks and cocky demeanor. Unapologetic about his dirtier intentions, he sets his sights on Nikki with an offer to help her. But his help comes with a very unorthodox conditions and a huge price. And Eric comes with an extensive black box warning label. I'm into this. And then the last book she got it for me because she says it's Hunger Games-esque, which I want all the Hunger Games-esque books, so I'm so excited for this one. It's called The Moon Dwellers by David Estes, author of the Evolution trilogy. In a desperate attempt to escape destruction decades earlier, humankind was forced underground, into the depths of the earth, creating a new society called the Tri-Realms. 17-year-old Adele, a member of the middle-class Moon Dwellers, is unjustly sentenced to life in prison deep underground. When a war breaks out within the Tri-Realms, Adele must escape from prison and seek to uncover her parents' true past, armed with only a wicked roundhouse kick and 2 fists that have been well-trained for combat by her father. In her world, someone must die. This actually kind of reminds me of The 100, like the show. I haven't read the book series, but like I love that show, so I'm excited. Thank you so much, Zoe. I can't wait to take part in Book Just Cupid again next year. This was just such a fun experience. Now on to some more books that I either bought for myself or my boyfriend bought for me. This book is called Austenland by Shannon Hale. This is about a resort for women obsessed with Jane Austen, and it kind of like guarantees them a Austen-esque romantic experience, I guess, and that just sounds so fun. It's a very short read, and I think it's gonna be hella cute. I believe this was turned into a movie too, so that's kind of fun. The next book I have is Eternal Life by Dana Horn. Nope, Dara Horn. So this has to do with a woman who lives forever, and she has an undying love who is like chasing her throughout her life, trying to get with her, and I guess she's trying to get away from him. I don't really know, but it's actually a lot shorter than I was expecting it to be, and I'm very intrigued. I kind of like books that synopsises give me a hint and a taste, but are a little bit vague. I feel like it makes me more intrigued. The next book I have is You Must Not Miss by Katrina Leno. This is a YA book about a girl who is bullied, and she has like this alternate life almost, like this world that she can go into where she can do whatever she wants and enact revenge on all of these people who are tormenting her. And I love the idea. I do wish it was an adult book so that I could get super dark, but I love this idea and I'm looking forward to reading this. I saw the paperback cover of this and boy do I wish I had waited for that one because it looks amazing. The next book I got totally random and on a whim to hit free shipping on Chapters. It's called The Place Between Breaths by Anna. I just loved this cover. I thought it was so pretty. I've never heard anyone mention it, so I don't know if it's good. It's a short read. This has something to do with mental illness and DNA and if it can be passed down to you and stuff. I'm very intrigued. I love storybooks about mental illness, and this sounds like it could be a good one, hopefully. The next book I have is The Hunger by Alma Katsu. This is kind of a reimagining of history sort of thing. It has to do with the Donner Party, which was, I believe, a train or something that broke down in the middle of nowhere and they had to kind of become cannibals a little bit to survive. I don't know a ton about it. That's like as much as I know, but I'm very, very intrigued by this horror remake of it. I'm also intrigued by her next book called The Deep, I believe. Also sounds incredible, so I hope I enjoy this. The next thing I have is a manga called Dreamin' Sun. This is volume 1. I believe that this is just like a cutesy love story type of thing where the main character ends up living with this guy or more. I don't really know a ton about it, but I wanted a cutesy manga. I haven't read a ton of manga, so this is one that I'm adding to my list. The next book I actually got for Christmas from my in-laws. It's Trevor Noah, Born a Crime. I don't know a ton about Trevor Noah, but like I read the first page of this and it instantly hooked me. It seems like he's a really great writer and I'm very intrigued to read this. I've heard nothing but good things about it. The next book I picked up is Behind Your Eyes by Sarah Pinborough. This, I believe, is about a woman who hooks up with this guy and then she finds out that he's married or something. Something like that. Unfortunately, I know a little bit about the ending. I really wish I didn't. So, I'm kind of bummed out about that. But I love a good thriller and hopefully I'll get to this eventually anyways. The next book is Someone Knows by Lisa Scottoline. This kind of seems similar to like I Know What You Did Last Summer, where in their past a prank goes wrong and now they have this horrible secret together. I have a feeling it'll be a little bit cliche, but I'm interested in trying it out anyways. I will read any thriller pretty much. Another thriller type thing, Tammy Hogue, The Boy. This has to do with a child who is murdered but whose mother was there and is alive, and they're wondering how that happened. I've never read anything from this author, so we'll see if I like her work. The next two are some little novellas I picked up off Book Outlet. This one is The Test by Sylvain Neuvel. It has to do with a guy who's taking his citizenship test, but then things go off the rails. I don't know much more than that. I've heard it's very Black Mirror-esque. And then this other one I have is called Vigilance by Robert Jackson Bennett. This has to do with a reality show with guns and killing, which sounds very intriguing. The next book is another Jessie recommendation, and that is The Way of All Flesh by Ambrose Parry. I don't know a ton about this, but I know it has to do with two people who are working together to find out what is going on with when all of these dead women are turning up in Edinburgh in 1847, I think it was. Yeah. I love those types of like duo solves crime together sort of thing, and the idea of it taking place in like the 1800s is kind of intriguing too, because sometimes I read too many of these types of crime stories and they all sort of blend together, so I'm intrigued to read this one. The next book I got was also from my in-laws, and that is The Turn the Key from Ruth Ware. This was on so many people's top 10 lists last year, and I'm so excited to finally get around to reading it. This has to do with a woman who's been accused of murdering the two children that she was in charge of taking care of, and it has something to do with the Smart House, and I don't know much more about it, but I don't really want to know much more about it. I've never read a Ruth Ware book, but I've heard this is where to start because it's her best. The next one I have is another cover by, this one's called Beautiful Broken Girls by Kim Savage. This has to do with two sisters, I believe, who committed suicide and drowned themselves in the quarry, and one of the sisters sends their friend Ben on an excursion to try and figure out why. Sounds a little similar to 13 Reasons Why. Hopefully this will be better than that one was. The next book I have is The Fever by Megan Abbott. I've never read a Megan Abbott book, but I really, really wanted to. This has to do with some sort of sickness that's spreading, and I don't know much beyond that, to be honest. But I've always enjoyed that sort of tale. The next book I have is Any Man by Amber Tamblyn. This is about a serial rapist who happens to be a woman raping men, and just kind of what happens when men are the ones who are in danger and the ones who are questioned. The next book I have is The Exact Opposite of Okay by Laura Steven. I believe this is about a girl who is trying to be a comedian, hooks up with a politician or an aspiring politician and a politician's son. I'm not really sure, but anyways, somebody takes pictures, they are leaked, and basically people just start talking behind her back and like calling her a slut, and people start examining her life, and it's kind of about the way women are subjected to ridicule and gossip and hurtful shit just because of their sexuality, and I guess it's a way that this girl deals with it. I'm very intrigued in this. Also, I love this cover. I don't know why. I'm hoping it will be a good feminist tale. The next book I have is The Kingdom by Jess Rothenberg. This is a Westworld type book where they have these Disney type princesses who are at this park and who get subjected to all sorts of not great things, and eventually I'm assuming they revolt. I don't know. I didn't even like Westworld, so I don't know why I wanted to read this so bad, but I did. The next book I have is Broken Things by Lauren Oliver. I actually really don't know what this is about. Reading the synopsis now, I'm just super confused. It seems like it has something to do with fan fiction and stuff, so I don't know. The next book I bought is Next Year for Sure by Zoe Leigh Peterson. This is about a couple who've been together for a long time when suddenly they decide to kind of open up their relationship and bring another person into it. And I just love that this book exists because obviously that is a thing that happens more and more. Not everybody is having monogamous relationships. So I love the idea that we're getting a polyamorous love story, and I hope this does it justice because I find that sort of thing very interesting. Next thing I have is 5 Midnights by Anne Davila Cardinal. I believe this is about someone who's traveling in Puerto Rico and there are monsters and they're trying not to get killed. I'm trying to go through these sort of quickly now because I'm realizing that this video is getting super long. The next book is called The Final Six by Alexandra Manier. This has something to do with a bunch of kids who are kind of competing for a chance to be one of these 6 kids who go up into space. I really like that sort of thing. I don't care about space books, but the whole like competition to go into space thing I find really interesting, and I'm hoping that this will be a good one. Once again, I got this because Kayla over at Books and Lala was talking about it, so. The next thing I picked up was A Nearly Normal Family by M.T. Edwardson. This has to do with a girl who is accused of murdering a man 15 years older than her, and it's about her family who are trying to defend her. I believe that this might be a courtroom drama, a legal drama, which I read one last month, absolutely loved it, so I'm looking to read more of those, so I hope that's what this is. The next book is Little Rex by Meredith Miller, another one that I saw the cover and was like, ooh, that's pretty. The description is kind of vague, but it sounds like another book that is about female rage and just being sick of the shit that they have to deal with. And what can I say? That always intrigues me. The next book I have is Notes from My Captivity by Kathy Parks. This is about a girl who is doing research on some sort of family of hermits that live in Russia, I think. And anyway, she ends up getting held captive by them, and I love that idea. I love anything that is even remotely cult-ish. I love the idea that she's been kidnapped. I'm into all of this. I have Swing Volume 2 that I just recently bought as well. I don't know where it is. But yes, I also bought that because I read Swing Volume 1 and really, really enjoyed it. I read it in Comixology. Apparently, the rest of the series is not on Comixology. I'm wondering if maybe they don't allow, like, erotic comics on their app. Not totally sure. But anyways, I bought Swing Volume 2 because I enjoyed it so much. It's just about a couple who decides to join a swingers community because they want to liven up their love life. And the last book I have in this haul is The Cheerleaders by Kara Thomas. This is a mystery involving some cheerleaders who are going missing or getting murdered or something, and like it's a YA mystery. Usually, honestly, a lot of YA mysteries, especially if they're thriller mysteries, aren't that good. I've heard very mixed things about this, but I love the cover and I wanted to try it out, so there we go. And I've heard good things about Kara Thomas at the least. So that was this haul. For the rest of this year going forward, there probably won't be more haul videos really, hopefully, because I shouldn't be buying this many books again anytime soon. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you'll come back again soon.